Sounds good.
Hello, how are you all? Hello? Okay. Well, hello everybody. We're here with a group of friends outside of this beautiful location in Amsterdam. We are perpetrators, victims, professionals, guards, scientists, artists, and prison governors. But here, we're all just people worried about what happens with and amongst people in our society and in our prison system. Thank you.
We had to take it off mute. What's up? This is LA. We have Anti-Recidivism Coalition.
Inside Outriders.
UCLA. UCLA. That is all. This.
Yes, I'm Gloria Pasunto, who is
Hi.
both an IOW and ARC member.
Yes.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Really pleased to be part of this dialogue. I'm chief exec of an organisation called No Offence. We're a national and international organisation, and we're a justice information exchange organisation. So we're quite different from everybody else, but we're really keen to be part of the conversation. So thanks for inviting us.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Name is Karega Ani. I'm actually representative, although in Houston, of the Mary Grove College in Detroit, Michigan School of Social Justice. I'm also a member of their recruitment and a recruitment team there in the community. I'm working on finishing my master's in social justice, and I've worked with Breon extensively in the past as part of the Blackout Arts Collective. I'm an artist and activist. Nice to meet you. Mm-hmm.
Hey, yeah. My name's Roger Bonner Agard, and I live in Chicago, Illinois. I represent the Free Right Jail Arts and Literacy program. We are those of us who work with direct contact with the youth are Ryan Kiesling, our director, Matilda De Dios, our associate director, myself, and Elgin Bokhari, the other teaching artist. I teach primarily creative writing there.
Hi, this is Seema, and I'm here with some folks from the ACLU of the nation's capital and also the UDC School of Law. And we are attorneys and activists and policy people, and we are actively engaged in an attempt to not only reduce the number of people entering into the prison system, but we have a vision of bringing folks home from the correctional facilities to where they've been sent and taking down the DC jail.
The baby step, one that was conceived in part in dialogue with Nanan Williams, who's a brother from LA, a good friend of mine who's been incarcerated since he was 17 years old. He was put on death row at 17 in Texas, and so that links several of our cities already. Franz and I went to visit Nanan in September, and in the course of those conversations, we had decided to take something that had been a conversation about a national day of action and dialogue and make it an international day of action and dialogue. So that's part of how we got here. Going back a little bit, we know that in the United States, our communities are in a state of crisis because of the unprecedented prison complex, the hyper incarceration or racialized mass incarceration folks are acknowledging finally is at a crisis situation. For folks in the room here, we have the Human Rights Project, we have the Center for New Leadership, which KJ is going to talk a little bit about, but groups that have been doing work in prisons, in communities affected by prisons, both on the front end, thinking about policing, police violence, police repression, the racial profiling, and targeting for drug offenses in our communities that's happened, as well as on the back end, so folks being released. And what we're talking about is returning citizens. That's all been a part of it. My own personal experience is that I happened to be a law student years ago and never had any trouble with the law until I went to law school. But I definitely had the experience of going through and doing the things I was supposed to do. My parents came here from Trinidad, seeking the kinds of equality and freedom and opportunities that folks come here looking for. They did not realize that the country they left with less than 2 million people, they would be coming to another country that has over 2 million people that are incarcerated. So more people are incarcerated in the United States right now than in the entire country that my parents came from. And so in a personal way, having that experience, having what my mother says, the same degrees as Barack Obama, but he ended up in the White House and I ended up in the jailhouse, as she puts it, right? It clearly demonstrated for me that, the system, in a very personal way for me, is out of control. And so how do we actually use the technology and use our networks in a more effective way to share our solutions, our stories, our strategies, to create a space for us to learn from each other? An annual conversation, utilizing the internet, utilizing this format and improving on this format moving forward is one way, but we're not thinking we're going to solve all of the problems that we're facing in our communities with an annual conversation. So we're hoping this is the catalyst for many other conversations and collaborations that will happen as we move forward. So we're going to hear from KJ as we go into moderating, and each city will have about 10 minutes to talk. We're going to end, I think, much earlier than we thought we would. I think we'll end closer to 2 o'clock today. And at the end, we have actually a music video that we produced especially for this occasion with this in mind that we're going to share to take us out of this at the end. Tomorrow, most cities are doing some sort of an action day. We're actually going to Sing Sing prison in New York right after this and doing a workshop there with some of the men who are actually doing a TED Talk at Sing Sing in a couple of weeks. So we are looking forward to hearing what your action is, if you've already figured that out. And then we've set up a website, which KJ will talk about, for folks to upload after tomorrow their reports on what they did and some video, if you have video of what you're doing, as well as part of our first annual day of action and dialogue. So with that, I want to turn it over to Kyung-Ji Ri, who's going to be moderating us through the rest of our conversation.
All right, so everyone, thanks for being patient. I know this technical aspect took a little longer, so I'm going to get us rolling. I just want to kind of put out, for some of the folks who may not have been as aware about what this is about, you guys are the brave pioneers of the international dialogue and day of action on prison activism. So if everyone heard me, can you raise your hand? Okay, that means Roger and Karega did not hear me. Roger and Karega? Okay. So I'm just testing this as we go along. So this is our first annual. We're looking to do this every year. Hopefully, as we master the technology, we're going to add more cities. And the whole idea is all of us are doing serious work on the ground. And I know every single one of us here work 24/7, 25/7, right? So this is a chance for us to connect and have both a sense, the landscape of what things look like, both inside the US and internationally, but also to groupthink about that kind of alternative vision that we all have. And we can kind of feed off of each other's innovative, inspirational solutions. So here's how it's going to go. We're going to start with Amsterdam. We got 7 cities. Okay, I've asked everyone to do a 10-minute presentation. If you can start with a little artistic piece. I know not everyone has a Brion ready at hand, but if everyone can start with an artistic piece, great. If you don't have one, it's fine. So we're asking for folks to give a 10-minute presentation. Give us a snapshot of what your city is facing, right? Some of the most critical issues that you think is something that the world needs to really understand about your city as well as the US, because right now US is really the #1 jailer in the world. And then 2, give us the most inspirational, powerful, innovative solution that you're working on or that you know of, right? So everyone got that? Raise your hand. Everyone heard me?
Yeah.
So the hardest things you're facing, give us a snapshot and the best solutions, the most inspirational solutions you have. And then, so we're going to go like this. The order is Amsterdam, London, LA, Chicago, Houston, DC, and New York City. Okay? So Amsterdam, start us off.
All right.
Say something? Yeah, hi, what's up, guys? I'm just going to read some kind of declaration that we have here, first of all, and then we'll go to some poetry art thing that we put together. So what we see is a tendency to organize everything away from people. You already read this? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Technical issue there. My reading ability. Changing the world starts by doing it in a different way and having the courage to do it. The initiative by Nanon, with help from friends outside the prison, led to this meeting in Amsterdam. We thank him for his incredible courage and being who he is, a role model for all of us. Being here in this meeting and having a prison action day is the start of the change. What we see is a tendency to organize everything away from people, to depersonalize and create a repressive climate. On the other hand, there is a longing for human contact, warmth, empowerment, and equality. There is tension between humanity and the political technology and the power systems. In Holland, we see hopeful initiatives and developments, like the promotion of recovery of people who suffered from crime and the ones who have committed crimes. The human potential, the incredible treasure of talents, energy, and love of the prison population is wasted until now. We follow the example of Nanon. Let's empower the people who suffer the worst consequences of the system, explore their talents, support them, let them speak, let them show their strength. Bring society inside, support family contact, and show the talents of the inmates. Make the prison a less worse place and make a climate possible in which one can give and earn trust and self-confidence. We believe in compassion. We believe we can make the world a better place.
As long as there is a morality that says that a criminal is different from me, instead of reconciling, and should be punished and set apart, instead of reconciling and being a part of society like everyone else, the gap between prison and society will stay unbridged and wide until we all take responsibility and accept that the solution lies between you and me.
With sharing starts caring. Once I was a victim. I made myself a promise, never that again. Then became an offender, never expected that. But busted, locked up, never had a chance. So I made one up. With sharing starts caring. That's my new start. I'm not what I've done, I'm not what I was. I'm a person open for sharing. This is a dialogue open for a new start.
I'm not a number, but a person that longs for feelings and love. In a concrete building, my light as a human dies, because the concrete stops the positive vibes that I need as a human to stay human and alive. If the only food is concrete, my heart will turn into concrete.
Slavery. I people, you people, we people. Loneliness, dehumanization, stigma, disconnect behind every bar. I, you, we, so close, so far. The bridge opens tomorrow at 9.
Empowerment. Prisoners are nothing, but they are a human being. Let's concentrate on the fact when they socially interact and you give them the space they need. Yes, autonomy, indeed. When we use their skills to the best, the prisoners become competent at last. So what we really meant, every human being needs empowerment.
You know, the sun comes up at noon. You won't see it because the walls are too high. Your body is kept inside the walls, but your spirit stays free and will take care that your body not falls. How hard your time will be, you know that one time for you the sun will shine. For what they say, what you have, for what they say, what you have done, you can't see the sun and don't have your freedom fun. Your door stays closed, your body inside, but for always your spirit will be bright and yours.
Thank you very much listening to us. Here's the next one.
So this first part, well, hello. So this first part is a translation of a poem that was written by a prisoner during the Second World War who was actually executed. It's called 1943. A prison cell is only 2 meters deep and not even 2 meters wide. Even smaller is the soil where I haven't been. This is where they'll put me to rest without a name, together with my mates. We were 18 in total, but none of us will see the night. 2014. Now there's a TV in the corner. People on the news say it's great, but the only real thing I can see is the sky outside, obstructed by iron bars. From the outside, this kind of prison might seem right, but only those locked up can possibly know how lonely it is to live inside.
Thank you. Amsterdam chooses for love, not for fear. Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you, Amsterdam. We can all give it up for Amsterdam. We can all give it up for Amsterdam. Thank
Skype
you.
clap.
Skype clap. Skype clap.
Delayed clap from Skype. So I want everyone to also take notes of any questions that, you know, and thoughts that you have as people make presentations, which will open up for discussion at the end. So, so next is Sue from London.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, I wanted to share a very short video with you, and your technical people have sent me some information, so I'm going to try to do this and see whether this works or not.
Okay.
It asked me to share the screen and then to open this, but I don't think this is working because you sent me some information over to how to do this. Let me see if this will work, and we'll go from there.
Just take the time to ask yourself one question. What you living for?
Sounds
What you
great.
living for? Tell me what you living for.
Can't see it.
Think
man.
about it. What you living for? Yeah.
Go to conversations.
One
Can
of
you
the
go
things
to
I love about
conversations?
it's the whole system. It's vendors. It's
Can you hear that?
We
Can you
can.
see any of that?
We could hear it, but we can't see it.
Okay.
Can you go to conversations? Can you go and click in the conversations?
Okay. Let me have a go. It doesn't seem to allow me to do it at the same time.
Yeah.
So let me just delete this and close this.
Okay.
So Sue, let's try one more time, and if it doesn't work, we can we can upload it. I'm going to share the website where everyone can upload the stuff where people can.
Yes. Okay, let's try that again.
Just take the time to ask yourself one question. What you living for? What you living for? Tell me what you're living for. Think about it. What you living for? Yeah. What you living for?
One of the things I love about No Offense, it's the whole system. It's genders, it's staff, it's probation, everybody working in the whole system. We recognise for what is the most.
So.
Do you want me to just start with the dialogue and we'll share the video some other way?
Yes, give us a snapshot of the work that you do as well as some of the issues facing London.
Okay. I'll begin with an introduction of us and who we are. We're a justice information exchange organisation. We're a not-for-profit, so we're not a charity, but we're a social business. And our business is about exchanging information, justice information. And our mission is to ensure that everybody that's involved with justice has the opportunity to access the information, and the organisations and individuals that they might need to engage with in their work, or if they're travelling through the justice system. We have contacts in over 60 countries, and we regularly connect with about 29,000 people who are involved in justice right around the world. We are very active on social media. We have about 11,500 Twitter followers, and we also have a LinkedIn group which allows us to bring people together to exchange information and exchange contacts. And we've been going for about 3 years now, and we've developed considerably in that time. And we now have the opportunity to engage with our government here and with other key people within justice right the way across the world. For us, this is a really important mission. We see so much that's happening within justice which needs to change. There are far too many people incarcerated. Within the last 20 years, our prison population has doubled, and people have fewer and fewer opportunities when they leave prison. And we believe that this isn't right, that when somebody goes to prison, that is their punishment. And if that continues when they leave prison, then that's retribution, and it's not a continuation of the punishment. And we believe that many people in the ordinary population do not know what actually happens within justice. So whilst we engage and communicate with people who are within justice, we believe that our role is also to inform people who are not ordinarily engaged with justice, and who often just see what is portrayed through the media. And we need to change that, and we need to make sure that people have access to the right information and the right facts. And one of the statistics which I use when I'm talking to a lot of people, particularly people who don't know what happens with injustice, I tell them that about 40% of men of working age have got a previous criminal conviction, and that's within the UK. I don't know what the percentage is for the US, but that's certainly within the UK. So you are working, socializing, engaging with people who have got a previous conviction. And it was interesting what Franz said, you know, this is about us, this is us. And people who know me often hear me say, you know, these are all our children and we are all responsible for making sure that things change and that people who, yes, have done something wrong, there should be a punishment. But prison isn't always the right way. Prison is often more detrimental than it is good. For many, many people, for the majority of people who go to prison. So we have to look for other ways to, when somebody has done something wrong, that we allow them to be able to put that right and to do it in a constructive way and not a way that is so expensive and it makes things worse for that particular individual.
Sue, can I, just for context, can I ask a quick question? You said that your prison population has doubled. What is the prison population for UK right now?
It's about 85,000 people, and it's doubled in the last 20 years. It's doubled.
So the number of people incarcerated behind bars in UK is 85,000?
Is 85,000. We're a tad behind the US with percentage population, but we're very rapidly following you behind. And our government seems to think that the way that the US government are doing it is the right way, that, you know, we should build bigger and bigger prisons and have fewer and fewer prison officers. And, you know, for us, the longer that somebody is locked behind a door, the more damage that can happen. And we are very concerned that prison populations are rising. You know, this government were committed to reduce the prison populations, but yet they're building a huge prison in Wales, which is going to house many, maybe 2,000 people. So our worry is that this is not actually what's happening there. They're actually planning to incarcerate more, and that's very worrying for us. Sorry.
No, go ahead, and we actually are at time, but go ahead.
There's an increasing problem here in the UK in that there are it's almost a pressure cooker that's building up at the moment, and we know that something major is going to happen because what is happening is that the number of prison officers are significantly being reduced, and we have situations where there are sometimes only 2 prison officers on one wing with maybe 150 men on a wing. And what will happen is that riots will begin, and that's very concerning for us.
So I have a lot of thoughts, but I want to save it for the discussion. And let me just say, you're definitely hooked up right now through this conversation with 5 of the most strongest activists around prison activism, who could definitely give you plenty of information for you to share with the government on why the UK should definitely not follow in the US.
Absolutely.
So, okay, I'm going to get us right along to LA. So we're going to go to LA, and then Chicago is next, and Houston's next, and then DC, and then New York. So LA, give us a snapshot of what's popping in LA.
Hi guys, my name is Anna Chofenley. I'm the policy director at the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. So just given the title alone, our main efforts are to reduce recidivism. So we're a support network for people returning home from any system. So that could mean juvenile hall, prison, camp, or jail. So that gives us a wide range of people coming home from 18 all the way up into their 50s, people who are serving more life sentences. We also work a lot on policy advocacy here. So what we are really focused on is giving our members, our coalition members, the tools to be able to advocate and be the voice for empowerment. So we have a lot of policy trainings, leadership trainings, anything that's revolving around those kind of skill building. So something that we've seen in the state of California is that obviously, I'm sure you guys have heard, we have an incredible epidemic of mass incarceration here. So the Supreme Court has said, you guys, you need to figure out ways to reduce that. So it's been a really exciting year. We just passed Prop 47, which we were very involved in. Our members were hitting the streets every day, going door to door, making phone calls. So that's just an example of kind of our advocacy and what that looks like. Hoping New York is going to maybe take something like that on as well. Something else that we really looked at is the juvenile youth offenders, life without parole. So we passed two major bills with that, SB 9 and SB 260, which is allowing youth offenders to go up for a parole hearing. So we're seeing a lot of... Yes. So we're seeing a lot of our young youth offenders coming home. And then after that, we also passed another bill called AB 1276, which was a perfect supplementary bill to those other two bills. Because what it does is it's looking at the classification system of when a youth is going over to the adult system. So for instance, right now when a youth is being held in the compound, they are getting classified with a certain number of points. So the way that you get points are, if you're in a gang, you're getting more points. If you have no family, you're getting more points. If you have no education, you're getting more points. So all these things that basically could make a person more vulnerable, you're getting more points. More points means you're going straight to a level 4 yard. So AB 1276 was a great bill for us to put young people on a path into education programs, supports, rehabilitation, drug and alcohol treatment, and will hopefully offer them an avenue into SB 260 and be able to come up for their parole hearing. Sorry, I kind of skipped over Prop 47, which was all about schools, not prisons. So California has increased the prison population by, I think, 500% since about 1980. We have built 22 prisons and 1 university. So what this proposition was doing was taking 6 felonies and moving them down to misdemeanors. And these were things around petty theft, nonviolent crimes such as like drug crimes, and kind of these wobbler charges, which quite often, if you're walking into a courtroom and you're a young man of color and you're getting that wobbler charge, you're often more times getting the felony charge. So what it was also doing was really pointing out kind of the racial disparity in these charges as well. So that piece of legislation, given that a lot of people are watching California, we're really hoping that it spreads across the nation. So that's a little bit just about what we are involved in. And we met Breon through an event that we did last year. We did a TED Talks also in state prison. So we also try to get creative with kind of our advocacy efforts and really bringing people into an experience. And so making sure that we're not just kind of giving you the information, but also making the connection on community levels as well. And then we're going to tell you about our partner organization, Inside Out Riders.
All right, thank you.
Woo.
Whoa. What's up, Breon? So, my name is Jimmy Wu. I'm the case manager at a nonprofit called Inside Out Riders. Basically, what we do at Inside Out Riders is teach creative writing classes to kids that are currently incarcerated in the juvenile halls in Los Angeles County. Our founder, she was a nun that worked at the Catholic office in the facility, in a facility called Central Juvenile Hall in downtown Los Angeles. And based on her intensive and extensive work with the kids that were incarcerated, she realized that nearly every one of the offenders, the minors, were victimized before they became victimizers. So she felt they had inspiring, powerful messages and stories that needed to be shared with the world. So the one way to do that was through creative writing. We started off with just one class in that facility. Fast forward 18, 19 years later, and we teach 41 creative writing classes on a weekly basis in all 3 LA County juvenile halls. On average, we reach over 2,000 kids annually. In 2009, we created what is called the Alumni Program. So it's basically reentry services and resources available to former students once they're released from custody. We have 6 different components. At its foundation is case management services. We focus on short-term needs such as housing or substance abuse counseling or transportation assistance, getting life documents. Then we look at the long-term goals like school placement and employment opportunities. We have life skills workshops that take place monthly, every week on Thursdays. We have what we call the writing circles, which is an extension of our writing program from the inside, only now it's outside in our office. It's an opportunity for our former students to continue engaging in creative writing because it's something that they found and learned to be extremely therapeutic. And it's also an opportunity for them to engage in peer-to-peer support and mentoring. We have community engagements. We understand that once we commit a crime in our communities, we are taking something from the community. So we really want to empower them to give back to the community in whatever ways possible. We have field trips that serve as an incentive, a reward for them to continue to perform in a positive and productive manner to just move forward with their lives from their past mistakes. And the last component is our mentoring program, where we just basically match them up with the adult role models and focus on specific interests and hobbies. Like Anna mentioned, ARC and Inside Out Writers, we have a very close relationship. We have a lot of overlap. In a little bit, you'll be hearing from one of our members of both Inside Out Writers and the ARC. And one thing I can say is based on my work as the case manager, I found that finding employment opportunities remains the biggest obstacle in LA County for us, right? Because we have a horribly high statistic rate of 70%. There's some crazy stuff going on our screen for some reason. But anyway. Oh, you're still screen sharing, Sue, I think.
Yes. It's okay.
But everyone can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just an extra screen.
So basically, we have a 70% recidivism rate. And, one thing that's pretty well known, but one thing that a lot of people don't know is that a lot of our young population, those under the age of 24 are the ones that are recidivating because they're coming out here with high ambitions and expectations. They want change. And one of the main things that they do need in their lives is employment. They need money. We all need money. But we're having a horrible time getting former offender-friendly employers to give us a chance. Unfortunately, it seems to be more of a myth when it comes to equal opportunity in Los Angeles, right? So we are doing our best to try to correct that, to try to form partnerships with people that are willing to give our young population an opportunity to prove that they are no longer the same people they were when they made their mistakes. So with that, we have a lot of people here in LA that are doing our work, and one of our newest partners is UCLA, so I want them to have an opportunity to share what they're doing with you guys.
Hey. UCLA.
I'm going to represent UCLA today. There are a few more of the students at the table. I'm a PhD student in the School of Public Health, and with UCLA, I'd say we have 2 goals right now. One is to bring students to the forefront of this fight and the cause in a really salient way. So partnering with groups like Inside Out Writers and ARC and government even to further our training, our education, so that when we graduate, we can really work as effectively as possible in this area. And I'd say the second goal is within UCLA is that we have all of these departments that are working on these issues in very relevant ways. You have professors in different programs. You have the Department of Policy, Social Welfare, law students, School of Public Health, and they don't necessarily coordinate their efforts. And so that is another one of our goals, is trying to bring everyone together so that we can
Breaking up.
affect change.
LA, you're breaking up.
I was just gonna keep it there. Good morning. I'm Bert out of ARC and also a member of my for Inside Out Riders, and I just wanted to share a quick piece with you. Can you all hear me?
We can't see you.
Can you hear me now?
We can
Am I
hear you.
Am I together?
Here you can't see you.
Can you hear?
You're frozen.
You're frozen. Your screen is frozen, LA.
Really?
Yeah.
But we can hear you, so let's keep going.
Okay. Possibly.
We have a great frozen picture of you, so that's great.
Nice picture.
We'll roll with that.
No worries. All right. Dear odd one, you were 12 years old when you first saw the world behind cold steel bars. Those lonely nights and terrified days, you kept it tough, showed no fear at any space. 13 years old when you were kicked out from the place you were supposed to call home. You were afraid and confused, didn't know how to survive on your own. Silence, writing, and phone calls was your only solitude. 14 years old when someone told you that you were strong. You couldn't believe their words. You shock and doubt as a reply. Someone told you to keep holding on, and so you did. 15 years old when you turned into the silent dynamite. No one was ever prepared for you to strike. They called you Hulk and surrendered to your sick and twisted fights. 16 years old when you made a mistake that only empowered you to change. When you learned how much harm you could unintentionally do. When you paid for every battle through time and unforgivable lies. It's amazing how much pain can be stored without it ever coming to light. 17 years old when you found love. Hard. When the world seems to be brightening up and your obstacles were turning into achievements. 18 years old, 18 years old, you stayed in shock, tested your patience on the mother that isn't around, B-Day, ended up leaving the world you knew for somewhere you never wanted to return to. 19 years old, you were ready to strive for what others thought was impossible for you. You proved them wrong, but never pointed fingers for their misjudgment. You did not blame the ignorant for not loving you the way they knew how to. Must accept and embrace them with open arms. 20 years old, when you decided taking risks was a resolution. You combined your combination of helpless and resilient. You finally understood what it means to love thyself and the commitment it takes to actually do things you're hesitant about. Now you will soon be 21 years old, and you're broken but repairable. You're determined and passionate. You're destined to fail at anything new. But as long as you keep making new mistakes and keep pushing yourself to greater heights, I have faith everything will just be as it should. You're a work in progress, just like the rest of the world. You're a survivor, always have been. Thank you.
Thank you. Delayed class from around the world. So thank you. I'm going to get us right along to Chicago. Yes, Chicago's next. So Roger, give us a snapshot of what Chicago looks like when it comes to mass incarceration and what you guys are doing to fight it.
All right. I wrote something for this, so I'm just going to read that, and then I'm going to share a couple pieces of work by the residents that I think are relevant. All right?
Thank you.
Recently, Ryan Kiesling, Matilda de Dios, and myself have been obsessing over this idea of stealing authority. It is the idea that connects for us the work we do inside to some of the activism that is most important to us outside. I'm speaking here, of course, about youth work. Much of the writing you will see produced at Free Write Jail Arts and Literacy program is from young people reading and writing far below their age and grade level. It is the idea that they have authority over those lives' stories that convinces them they ought to participate in writing and reading their own lives, and by so doing increase the extent to which they are literate. And so the team of us at Free Write decided that we needed to go to Ferguson, Missouri on Columbus Day. If you've been living under a rock, well, Ferguson is where a policeman named Darren Wilson shot several times and killed an unarmed teenager named Michael Brown in the middle of the street in the broad daylight back in August. Brown's body then was left for 4 hours bleeding out on the pavement in front of the housing complex where he was shot. In the weeks since then, incensed by the fact that the police wouldn't even file a report and Officer Wilson was not being made to answer for the shooting in any way, citizens of St. Louis took to the streets. They were met early on by the most hostile example of police militarization we've seen on American soil in a long while. But something else happened. Out of the protests and the early looting, a community decided to come together to take care of itself and to demand justice, and specifically to demand that Officer Darren Wilson be indicted. Out of that morass, a cadre of youth calling themselves Lost Voices has emerged as the voice of that youth movement. It's important to note that these are those elements of society that have been discarded. They're 15 to 23 years old. Many of them are already in the system as juvenile offenders. They have face tattoos. Their pants sag. One of them even told me he came out initially to see if he could come up on some materials in the looting, but realized there was more at stake. These are not young people who stayed in school and went to college and learned how to be activists. They have a simple platform. We're not going home until Darren Wilson is indicted and convicted. Many people from around the country have gone to Ferguson, but from the NAACP to Cornell West, they found that nothing goes forward. Nobody on the ground moves unless the youth and grassroots of Lost Voices say move. They are wholly uninterested in what the old wise heads have to say. As far as they're concerned, we've had our time and nothing changed. They're making themselves savvy in the ways of an activism that borrows from techniques and understanding around them and marries exactly their age and their needs and the terrain being traversed where they are. They've stolen authority from that particular situation, and they're using it to pursue justice as they define it. In the process, there is a literacy they're gaining, and what we at Free Write found out, admittedly, while we were in St. Louis, is that this is the reason we went. Because the work we do for struggling readers and writers in trying to help them find the authority of their lives and stories is directly related to the work being undertaken by the Lost Voices in St. Louis, Missouri. If we are about the work of literacy and facilitating the authority of these youth, then there was nowhere we could be but Ferguson on Columbus Day weekend. Recently, I've been doing an exercise with the residents in Cook County Juvenile Temporary Detention Center, which I call essentializing the self. The exercise itself is not particularly groundbreaking. I stole the mechanics of it from a CPS teacher. But I have the students write their life stories in 24 words. They share those, then I have them return to it and cut it down to 12 words. They share those, and then I have them return to it and cut it down to 6, then 3, then 1. As you might imagine, having to cut your life story down to 1 word is at first anxiety-making and then exciting. For that moment, at least, you're coming up with the definition of the thing that you essentially are. It is quite the existentialist study. My guys at Cook County Juvie essentialize themselves down to birthdays, the word born, the word my, their names. Out of about 30 boys over the course of the day I last did this exercise, only one of them essentialized himself down to anything that had to do with crime or being a criminal. And even that, a borderline word, a word that could just as easily denote survivor. His word, hustler. I couldn't have doctored the statistics any more tellingly than this. The boy who essentialized himself down to hustler is the one boy out of the 30 we work with who we have to work with him by having him tell us what he wants to say while we write it. He can't read. He can't write. He's functionally and otherwise illiterate. He has the least option for taking authority for his own life in the word and rendering it in the way it is most likely to be communicated to others, by writing it down. Still, when we did tell him that we were going to work with him in that way to tell his story, to write his life, I can't describe to you what his face looked like as he sat with Ryan. This exercise in essentialization actually has a second part to it, in which I have you make lists of things that become the elements of the piece you will write about the topic that is your essential word. Once we got done with that list and he started telling Ryan his piece, he was the most animated I've seen him yet. By the time we got to the end of class, he had declared he was going to write an entire book and send it home to his mother. This from a young man who literally 45 minutes earlier had said he didn't really like to write or like writing. We also do reading and writing tutoring through Free Write, but in this case, we managed to help him begin the process of stealing that authority even before he got to the mechanics of reading and writing for himself, simply in the act of story. This is also what's happening in Ferguson with Lost Voices, transformation through the act of telling one's own story, birthing one's own literacy, and that's why we discovered and all agreed instinctively that we should go And that is why this idea is now part of the pedagogical evolution of who we are. I want to go now to sharing a couple of pieces. So what I'm doing partly with this particular exercise that I feel in some ways emblemizes what we're doing at Free Ride is I'm using that word, I'm using that idea as the base model for everything they're going to work on for the next couple of months. One of the most recent exercises I did with them comes off of some poems by Willie Perdomo from his book, The Essential Hits of Shorty Bon Bon, and particularly a suite of poems in there that are about the birth of Shorty Bon Bon. So I had them come up, tell stories about their own nicknames, nicknames given them, or nicknames that they made up for themselves while they sat there, and then write the stories of the essential birth of those people. In particular, I want to read you Jamil W.'s The Birth of Cow Cow. Cooling with some thoughts on the block, smoking dope out the blue. We know you, lil cow, cow. I smile, but don't try me. I blow you down. Giving hell in my town. Don't test me or I have to cow. Cow in the field. I should keep a pole. I'm gone in. I'm gone. Don't try me or I might have to put heat to your head like a hot cone. Damien, this is a story about San Pedro. He was born in 1990 in Chicago, Illinois. His mother gave up to a family she ain't knowing. He was growing up to be a man, so his mother and daddy, the family, he ain't no mother, and daddy told him they was not his real family. And he got so mad because he was thinking that y'all was his real family, and y'all was not. So he was a man, so he was feeling bad. So he was just getting into a gang, so his family was like, what is going on? Talk to us, y'all. Y'all is not my family. We still is. We help you out. We love you. But he was not listening, so he just went back outside with his friend, and sad, and then finna be this big-time drug dealer. And he was the man that was on the block. So in his house, he was the man. So there was in his house, and the CPD was there. So they put him in jail for 25 years. So all he thinks about is what he's done. So he's thinking like about his family. So he's like, I have to tell my family I'm sorry about what I done. It was not right. So he telling me sorry about what he told them. And he loves you, mother and daddy. That was kind of a vague re-rendering of his grammar and syntax.
So Roger, we're actually at 12 minutes with you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm good.
No, it's fine. So, so once again, thank you, Roger. That was incredible. You put me in deep thought with that stuff. So I have a lot of questions going your way. So this is incredibly rich, and I want to get us through, and I'm excited to get us to kind of a rich conversation across continents as well. Houston, Carrega.
Yes, good morning. Carrega, everybody messes it up. It's okay. All right, so my name is Carrega, but actually I've been joined by a close friend and colleague by the name of Dr. Michon Benson. We're both here right now in the TV studios of Texas Southern University, where she is a professor. Hello. And she has a lot of great statistics and actually work that she's already been engaging in that now that we've been talking about it, I will certainly be engaging in with her, you know, as well as my own pursuits that I've already been doing. So we'll be syncing up our resources and syncing up our efforts from this point on. If you would please receive Dr. Michon Benson.
Hi, I'm Michon. Nice to meet everybody. I am so honored to be in the presence, although cyber presence, of so many remarkable people. Just some information about some of the projects that we're working on here in Houston, as I'm sure the gentleman in Chicago is aware, and I'm not too sure about the statistics in LA, certainly not about Amsterdam, but there is a lot of consolidation and closure of inner city schools, and in this area that phenomenon translates into a lot of students who are disallowed from both traditional and charter schools that still do exist. And so in an attempt to compensate for the number of students who are homeschooled, which means that they probably stay at home while their parents are at work and they're sitting in front of their computers doing busy work from some online program. We're creating a series of programs and after-school programs that that allow students to engage in not just STEM activities and not just kind of busy work in a group session, but that also allow them to build their self-esteem and be in contact with some of the most prominent scientists, artists, researchers, people who are engaged in engineering around the country. I want to show you a video, just a 1-minute quick clip of one of the projects that we're working on. I want to preface the discussion, this video, by saying that the students who were involved in the most recent Smart Talk, as we call it, are students who attend a school that has been written off for the most part. 87% of the student population is considered at risk, and what that means, of course, is that those students are not considered worthy of going to universities, or to not even worth talking with in terms of getting a higher or advanced degree. So we had our recent Smart Talk last month, and I just wanted to show you a quick clip. I hope that you can see it. I'm going to hold the phone up too.
Okay, move your phone back a little bit. Great. Perfect.
We have our plans together. We try to make it work. We on top of it without a talk.
It's a minute.
My team didn't win, but we won.
The idea is we stream to Nigeria and to London, and so the students who are participating in-house, doing hands-on activities, building self-esteem, working on their patients, inspiring others, some of whom go to the same school with them, they just don't know them because they don't talk. You know, they live in their silos. We're streaming, and those students who are in the other countries participate in the same hands-on activities. We send the supplies to those countries. And so there's this interconnectedness. We're trying to use the internet as a tool to show how communities can be connected through the internet and not be disconnected, although hyper-connected into cyberspace. In our own community, we're working with the Innocent Project. Many of you are familiar with the Innocence Project. David Dow, who's a professor of law at the University of Houston, and some of the people who have been exonerated as a part of the wonderful work the Innocence Project is doing, come into the schools in the neighborhood and serve as mentors to the students, particularly in middle school. We feel as though if those innocent people, because I can't even call them former prisoners, but if those innocent people can come in and relay their experiences to the students, then the students feel empowered to not end up in a similar situation, but also feel that those people have worth and value outside of the jail, which is in itself a glamorized site. And you know, so those are just a couple of things. Certainly, there are more things that we could talk about. I think Karega's poem is
right. And just to add a little bit more context to what Dr. Benson was saying, here in Texas, to kind of put numbers to it, we heard the statistic earlier saying that there's roughly 86,000 prisoners in all of UK. In the state of Texas alone, there are over 150,000 people in prison.
Damn. 111.
111 jails. Okay, so there is a definitive, destructive, pervasive culture of locking people up and throwing away the key here. And considering our orientation here in the south of the country, there are a myriad of reasons as to which this is the case, some of which I'll actually point out in my written presentation here, which will also include a spoken word piece. I do that stuff too. I am a no one in 2 million. I am a commodity, a profit margin. I provide jobs for your small town. I am a menace. I am welcome. I am a nondescript building off the highway on the way to your next destination. I am not part of your world. I don't exist. I am the mistake in stasis, the living death named rehabilitation, vertically buried alive, 23 hours in a cage estranged from nature and the sky, vitamin D deprived, disinclined monster contrived by medieval maniacal machinations masquerading as justice. I am a thing. Created only in America, exported only by the organ. I used to be a man. I used to be a woman, a brother, a sister, a father, a mother, uncle, auntie, grandmother, or grandfather. I used to be free. They say slavery ended in 1865. They say slavery in America ended in 1865, but Corrections Corporation of America made $1.7 billion in 2013. On top of $300 million in additional profit, all of which was underwritten by you and I, the oblivious taxpayer building and maintaining domestic torture chambers. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution abolished slavery and or involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime, except as punishment for a crime. Ergo, it should come as no surprise that blacks and Latinos had to be criminalized. We went from 3/5 human to 5/5 felon in the blink of a blue-green eye. The myths perpetuated by society reflect its highest ideals and deepest fears, so here am I, king rendered pawn, the lie agreed upon, an academic argument not directly referenced in polite company, the conservative politician's stumpstick and whipping boy. The profit motive in the Wall Street overseer's investment, the children that I'll never get a chance to see, the seedy underbelly of American exceptionalism, bottom of the barrel, seduxo cellar dweller, solitary terror, disallowed contact with the outside world, denied the solace of mama's embrace, denied the context of time and space, fluorescent lights obfuscate my circadian rhythms by day, and desperate sadistic pricks pick locks by night, concrete, block walls swallow my screams, CO suffer night blindness, and God blinks as my soul slips away, chasing freedom as I black out. I am smuggling salvation from commissary. I am a Hail Mary razor blade slip beneath my tongue. Tomorrow they will find me escaped in my cell. At morning count they will find my crimson stained case escaped in my cell. But tonight I will be free.
Woo!
So I wanted to touch it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I wanted to touch a little bit on kind of the historical context for why we see what we see, especially in the state of Texas and in the larger context of the South in America. In exploring the fundamental flaws of America's criminal justice system, one would do well to first explore the tenets underpinning its establishment, its history, and the practices associated thereunto. One tenet of particular historical and political import is white supremacy. In my view and experience, the fundamentals of race-based oppression have not yet changed for the better. Contrary to the popular and ever so convenient opinion, white supremacy is still the order of the day, no matter the time zone. However, what gives some in this country the illusion of true progress is that it has become taboo to candidly discuss white supremacy as a construct, i.e. the PC phenomenon as such. Its premises have now become the 800-pound gorilla silently smirking in the darkest corner of the room. The Wizard of Oz disavowing his own existence, the muted status quo functioning under the cloak of liberty and cultural pluralism. It is spoken in vague terms like the system or the white man, weightless rhetoric uttered when there's nothing left to say. Be that as it may, white supremacist thought may also be contextualized according to its wider socioeconomic ramifications and motivations. As it was stated in the film Slavery by Another Name, the abolishment of slavery in the South proved devastating to its economy. Formerly wealthy landowning enslavers were financially devastated in the wake of the Civil War, but most whites in the South were never slave owners to begin with. In fact, many were very poor and unskilled. Therefore, the introduction of this newly freed, highly motivated population into the local workforce operating under the albeit temporary protection of the federal government during the Reconstruction era was considered by many to be an imminent threat to the livelihoods of the newly and perennially impoverished whites. Let's just keep this in historical context. You know, they do that now.